So, good evening, councillors and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending the meeting today. Advise everyone, in the event of a fire alarm, everyone should immediately leave the building through the nearest door and assemble in the car park near Clarence House. If anybody needs the Swindon free Wi-Fi code for today is success, goals, welcome, all lower cases. Success, goals, and welcome. Apologies of absence. We have received none. Anybody know of any absence? No. Thank you very much. Councillor Linda Cash said he will be running a little bit late.
Just checking it down now.
We'll carry on. Declaration of interest. Councillors are reminded that they should declare any known interest in any matter to be considered in line with the new Code of Conduct implemented from 1st of September 2025. You should also make a declaration should it become apparent during the meeting that you have an interest in the matters being discussed. Do members have any declaration that they wish to make at this time? Councillor Curley.
Yeah, I wonder if
Put your mic on, please.
Oh, God. On item number 6, I should declare that I do work for UK SBS in Clarence House, and I think it mentioned some things along those lines. I'm not sure what sort of interest it is.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Mm.
I think it's best if you declare this, so no time. Thank you very much.
If I need to, I'm not here as a member of the committee, but I work for UKRI in my day job, and they will be discussed, I'm sure.
Yeah, at least it's open and transparent that you declare that. That's fine. Thank you. To receive the minutes of the meeting held on 11th of September 2025 to confirm their accuracy. Is there any matters arising, members?
No, happy.
You're all happy? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. I can sign that then. Agenda 4, public question time. Public question time is limited to 15 minutes. Do any members of the public have any questions? Obviously no. Thank you very much. Just to tell members, we are changing over the agenda because the leader has to leave, so we've asked the police and they kindly accepted. There will be on second on the agenda. Instead of 5, there will be 6. So we're going to start off with agenda 6, discussion of Swindon's emerging economic growth plan. Leader.
Thank you very much. I am not going to say a huge amount at the moment. I'm going to hand over to Matt Peachy, who is the brains behind this. But I will be more than happy to take any questions when we get to various points in the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think we've got a few slides to run through just to talk to the report. We could find those. While waiting for those, I'll just give you a little bit of context. The economic strategy, this report, it's good to have the opportunity to discuss it with the committee. There was a cabinet proposal to put an economic strategy for the town in place. But as well as that, of course, we've got a motion which council agreed to look at how we attract more high-tech businesses to the town, something which has been very good at over recent months and something we'd like to do more of. So we thought we'd bring those two items together as part of this discussion. And really the aim here is to try to have a cross-party discussion about what the key choices are for our economic strategy, because we do have to make choices. We cannot do everything when it comes to promoting the economy, but there are certain things we can do. And there are certain things we can do in partnership with businesses and other partners in the town, such as the college and many others as well. So that's the end of this presentation, just to talk you through those options. Get your views. What we'll do with those views is essentially go away and draft the economic strategy. over the next probably 2 months, and then we aim to do some consultation with businesses again in January. We've done some consultation already with businesses on 2 occasions and also with residents as part of the Let's Talk Swindon event. So we've mostly gleaned quite a lot from that. There's plenty that we have already, but this is a good opportunity for us to capture your views. If I run through the slides. Firstly, I think it's just worth saying that this is a 5-year strategy as we see it. A lot of local areas will do a 10-year strategy, but things are changing so quickly. You know, if you look at trends in the world around environment, AI, what's happening with our own economy, it seems to make sense to us to go for a 5-year approach, and hopefully that's your view as well. This item really is to highlight our options and get your views. So there you see on the screen are 6 or 7 overarching priorities. So firstly, enterprise and innovation ecosystem. Whilst Swindon is brilliant in terms of having many larger employers, it's probably got double the national average. That's a real strength that we can do more with. We're actually probably fairly average and perhaps even below average in terms of our levels of enterprise, and certainly in terms of the levels of companies scaling up locally. We've got things like the work shed, we've got things like the business growth hub, but perhaps doing something more to create an innovation ecosystem and an enterprise ecosystem is something we can do. And certainly appetite from partners to do so as well. We heard that yesterday from businesses. We have the Heart of Swindon vision, and in all of the engagement we've had with businesses, they've encouraged us to continue with that. And actually, they recognise that the challenge is attracting investment into the town centre. We recognise that viability has been a long-term challenge for the town, so there's a real keenness that we push hard on that, use the economic strategy as a way of getting more interest in investing in the town generally, but certainly in the town centre as well. Clusters. So we have some clusters already. We're probably number 2, according to NatWest, in climate tech, and we'll come on to that. But there are many others as well, financial and business services and others. And green transition is an economic opportunity for us. You'll have seen the branding here, Make It Swindon, Make It Here, alongside the good work we've been doing on investment with Andrew Wells and the team attracting companies like Tekova to the town. We think there's a lot more we can do to excite investment if we've got a brand that really accelerates investment for Swindon and shows that there are things happening here, both for residents, for entrepreneurs, and for businesses alike, but also for developers. So we feel that's the key thing to do alongside the investment. And that'll pay for itself. It'll pay for itself in return on investment through things like business rates growth. So we do feel that can work for the town, and it's worthwhile investment. We've already got the skills strategy, which you will all be aware of, which was adopted in September. The link between our economic strategy and the skills strategy is clearly ensuring that we've got a responsive system in our skills system for businesses. So where the economic strategy plays in here is ensuring that businesses are part of this mechanism to understand what the needs are locally, and ensure planning for that long term with our education providers, the college, any other HE partners, and others as well. And you will have seen at the end of the report, we've added the need to approach community wealth building. Other places have done this, Preston, Baltimore in the US. It's very much about understanding that we've got huge wealth already in Swindon, but it's not necessarily all being captured locally through some of the businesses and the residents. And there's a number of ways in which you can capture more of that wealth locally without punishing big businesses in any way, but just to make it an environment to capture community wealth. So we'll move on to the next slide, I'm conscious of time. The other thing we need to really think about is Swindon's key assets. We spoke to some of the businesses at Let's Talk Business yesterday, and these were the 4 key assets that we put forward. The one that they would add to this, so we've got Planetary Park, UKRI, Science Museum Group, and our anchor employers, but it was felt that the likes of Business West, the likes of Thames Valley Chamber, the business networks we've got are also a key asset for the town. If we're going to be creating that ecosystem around entrepreneurship, we should certainly add that as well. There's plenty of other sort of inherent assets we've got, our location, our connectivity, the fact we're a very productive economy, but these are sort of physical assets that we think we can play off and do more with. UKRI were in the room when we spoke about this. Planetary Park, a key partner in the Science Museum Group, have been part of this discussion as well. So they all understand that they have a role in this strategy and are keen to partner with us on that opportunity. So I will pause just briefly there, because I think it's probably worth just opening up. Is there anything we're missing here? Are there key priorities, or are we roughly in the right area?
Councillors?
No. Okay.
All happy so far?
Let's get here.
Change before we move on, Councillor Adams sends his apologies.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move on. So we do have our challenges as a place. We know we need to improve Swindon's image, and I think there are already steps happening that you can see that through the investment we've attracted from various companies across the summer, particularly in the drone sector, the development happening, and it's only the investment happening that you see on the screen that FI have done into Newbridge Square off the back of Devon Way, that the image of Swindon is improving, but we've still got further to go. And so that's a key element for us, and particularly is something that will play into the town centre, but also attracting people to live and work here as well, and also attracting companies here. Linked to that is the third point around the place-wide offer. It's important that we've got a range of things to do, I think, for people that come to the town, and that's a key thing that our employers such as Zurich and others are saying to us. So we need to make sure that offer improves. And again, it's an opportunity for the town centre. We've mentioned the fact that we could be more entrepreneurial. We've mentioned the investment point, so I won't dwell on that. I think on infrastructure, Swindon is relatively strong on the infrastructure it's got. It's important just to say that we're aligning very closely with our planning team, with our local plan, which is at Reg 18 at the moment. There's an infrastructure delivery plan as part of that. It recognises that whilst infrastructure is strong now, there are some investments that will need to be made along the way alongside the growth that comes. So again, what the role of the economic strategy is to understand what businesses are seeing in terms of blockers to their investment, feed that into the process for attracting investment and ensuring that we're trying to overcome those barriers as much as possible. So I think that's important to work alongside our planning and transport colleagues on. And it could be around energy, it could be around other bits of infrastructure as well. So we think those are the main challenges, but again, I'll pause very briefly and just see if there are any others that people can see, but we think, yeah.
Councillor Sumner?
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I mean, obviously in the report you've singled out a couple of the strengths and weaknesses, and the grid infrastructure is certainly going to be a challenge in terms of growing business, and that's obviously a key priority working in that sector to see how that can be set up. I know that they've given rather gloomy predictions about, well, we can't offer a 5 gig supply until 2035 or something like that, so that's going to be a major block to business. And the other thing in the report on the strength strategic location, we should definitely be including the fact that now the Birdlip bypass is well underway, that actually the strategic location becomes even more significant because of the Midlands down to the south, and yeah, particularly in terms of logistics. Yeah. And then that leaves you with the issue of the A420, which is then becomes a blocker to East West. To connect to Oxford. Yeah, and I travel that road on a daily basis, so I understand exactly what you mean. And I think the grid issue is a national issue, of course, but I think when it's clearly picked up as a policy issue, we have some pretty powerful businesses in the town, such as RWE, who understand this well, also Simwave as well, who are growing, and they're part of what's improving the infrastructure. So I think working with those gives us an opportunity to perhaps be more knowledgeable in most locations. There at the moment, but there is the opportunity to do so, and potentially when we get to this position of having a devolved mayoral authority as well, that gives us the opportunity then to plan for that infrastructure on a wider basis, and you think this area would be a priority because of the growth potential. You certainly think so. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
Let's carry on.
Will do. So we, again, debating with the businesses that have been part of the Let's Talk business events, they would like us to focus on the whole economy and make sure all businesses are kind of looked at in this strategy. But again, we have to make choices. We think these 4 are sectors to select for a number of reasons. Business, professional, financial services is a real strength of Swindon's. It's where we can attract more business to the town centre. We've got Zurich nationwide to build from, and there are other sort of developments in that sector around fintech as well. we feel there's something there to potentially allow us to cluster. Advanced manufacturing is a really strong area. It's more than one sector, as you can see there: defence, automotive, component manufacturing, life sciences. They're all, part of the overall sort of approach to engineering, different sectors that we can play into, and we have strengths in all of those. Many of them also link into our wider regions. So defence is something that's strong regionally. Life science is something that's strong in places like Oxford and along the arc. So these are areas where Swindon can play a key role in the wider regional economy, and of course, productive as well. If you're in advanced manufacturing, it is a productive part of the economy, so we can continue to be good at what we're good at, which is being productive. We're top 5, we could perhaps go higher. Creative and cultural, we obviously have the Swindon Cultural Collective and the funding that the council has put in alongside the Arts Council to that sector. It's relatively small, but it can play an oversized role in improving place, improving identity of place, and allowing us to really be different as a location and start to promote ourselves alongside that brand. So again, we think that's an important sector to try and push forward, even though it's relatively small. Energy and green technology, we've discussed it, but companies like RWE here, but also there are companies innovating such as Rivan, doing synthetic fuel over at Rawton, but also others that are doing carbon capture, that kind of thing. So we are already probably one of the top 3 for this. We know that we need to decarbonise anyway, so it's an economic opportunity for us, but it's also an opportunity to do the right thing in terms of decarbonisation. So we feel those are the top 4. There are others you can choose, but with those, we feel there's something we can do to bring those together, to use our competing power along with other partners, just understand those sectors' needs, create networks, make sure we're trying to push them forward and promote more investment in them. It will be relatively light touch action because we've got a limited resource, but our role would be to convene and hopefully help those sectors grow and work together. So I will pause very briefly just to see if there's any other comments there.
I think everyone's enjoying it, so they want listen more on the good news you want to.
Okay, so we'll move on. And yeah, it's community wealth building. So as I said at the start, we've got roughly double the proportion of large employers in Swindon as compared to, say, the England average. Large employers only make up a small proportion of any local economy. It's about 0.7 or 8% of employers here, but it's 0.3 or 4 elsewhere. So there's clearly a thing in Swindon because of our connectivity, because of the growth of place, the employers like Zurich, UKRI and others choose Swindon. That's a real asset for us. They buy locally, they pay huge numbers of employees, they have access to finance, and they have access to funds that can have impact in the local community where it's beneficial to do so. There's the opportunity then to use that financial power locally. Enterprise ownership is partly linked to our anchor employers, but it's probably more about, is there more we can do around different types of business ownership? So community interest companies, co-ops, social enterprises, that kind of thing. Those kind of enterprises that plug some of the gaps that we may not be able to fill through public services. So again, we think that's an important aspect of this community wealth building approach. And companies that here, the council that's here as an anchor employer has assets. Some of those assets can benefit the local community. They may be, for example, through meanwhile use. So it could be an example of a parade shopping centre that has empty units. Could they be used by community groups to do something good in the local area? Or could it be in town centre? It may be around other types of space, manufacturing space, that kind of thing. If you look at places like Preston, Baltimore, what they've done is they've managed to utilise those assets for wider use than just those that own them. And it's making good use of spare capacity you've got in the economy. But this approach to work around community wealth building, it isn't just the council doing it, it's about having a partnership of our key anchor employers. So this wouldn't get going immediately, but if this was something we were to adopt as a strategy and approach, then we could start to form that partnership with the council's backing and hopefully start to deliver some benefits for local area. I'd urge you to look at things like the Preston model and the Centre for Local Economic Studies. That shows what can be achieved with this and this real potential impacts that can be achieved. I think that might be the last slide. You'd be glad to know. Maybe one more, maybe. Yes, stakeholder engagement. So you can see in the top half here what we've done. So let's talk business, July 22nd. We've met with a number of our larger employers. Another meeting yesterday, which went really well. It's a picture on the right there of what happened. There was a lot of engagement from those businesses, and they do support what we showed you today. So they think this is a good approach, and they've added to it. Once we've had this sort of round of input concluding today, we'll then go and draft that strategy through the next period, and then consult again in January before hopefully having a final version to share. So we don't intend this to be a long strategy. We will produce a document which shows the evidence of where those strengths and weaknesses are as a report, and have a clear action plan as well for delivery over a 5-year period. So there's a bit more work to do, but this is essentially the skeleton, the framework for the strategy. And so, yeah, any comments you have at all? Happy to take.
Thank you for excellent report, Matt. Councillors? Councillor Venkatesh?
Thanks for the presentation. I mean, I'm myself a business owner, and I run from home, and there's always a challenge, like there are many people who wanted to expand the business and make their presence in the town, but there will be always challenge, like how to take the way where I can find more information. Is there any initiative as the talks with an investor was part of some event we did? There are so many people share various challenges, concerns, and how to be part of it. Is there any set of consistent events, maybe monthly one, coffee morning or something, to bring them, discuss them, understand the challenges, make them to be part of it? If they are lacking with some education, some knowledge, where to start, how to start, when to start. You said financial power. Majority of them are not aware of what that financial power is.
Yeah.
So do you have any plans to start some incubation or a sort of a roundtable discussion every monthly or quarterly to bring the people who are in interest to expand the business in town?
Yeah, there's already so much happening, or so much of which I'm not even aware of. Lots of networks that are there, but the things that I would point to first of all would be the business growth hub. Business growth hub, which obviously Swindon benefits from, part of the LEP. That can obviously provide some of that support and networking. And the other thing, of course, is our asset here in Swindon, which is the workshed, and a number of the events that happen around that. There's plenty more aside, and I think the key action is probably just sort of doing a bit of an audit of all of what's available, looking at where the gaps are, and then seeing if something more is needed. And that's where we look to intervene. If it's happening quite well already, it's really just about convening and sort of what's already there. But we do need to see if there are any gaps.
Thank you.
Councillor Sumner?
Thanks. I mean, it was within the report, but we had an event recently that the leader and I attended, and I'm not going to mention the employer, but there was a major employer who said that they have concerns about recruiting higher level degree educated young people into their business, and that could become a problem for them at some point. And so again, it's about growing the town, but also making sure that we don't lose employers through a skills gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to understand when that may happen. So one of the things we're already doing, and we need to keep doing more of this meeting with our key accounts. So we have the sort of top 60 listed employers, and that's growing. It was 60 when we first put that list together. We've met with a number of those now, but there's more we need to meet with, and we just need to understand what their plans are, because ultimately we will obviously keep and grow many of them, but there will be some that we lose. And if we can at least find out when they're making that decision, it gives us the opportunity not to do so, find a way of keeping them. So yeah, it's fundamental. I mean, something like 65% of growth in our local economy comes from companies that are already here. So we need to capture that opportunity. It's one of the sort of easiest areas, but one that we need to keep on top of, just to make sure we've got that relationship. Great, thank you.
Councillor Crulley?
Yeah, I'm really interested in the defence group deal, growth deal, sorry. and the defence skills passport. I wonder if you could explain a bit more about what that is.
Yes, yeah, it's something that the government announced recently as part of the defence industrial strategy. And the idea is that it allows people who have previously worked within the forces, wherever that may have been within the forces, to then move into the defence sector. And it's something that already is done. You know, it's a well-trodden path by many that are ex-forces veterans. But of course, it's not always made as easy as it might be. So that's the idea with the defence force part of the passport. I think it would, given the defence sector that we have regionally, and the fact that we're part of the Western Regional Defence Cluster, which is something that we're working alongside Wiltshire on, and also the wider area into Bristol. It's quite a wide area. There's certainly an opportunity to continue working with that cluster, and then maybe look at something like the defence skills passport through that. I think there's an event in Swindon that cluster is doing December 3rd, something like that, which our head of investments involved in. So if we can engage in networks like that, it might give us the opportunity to deliver some of what's in the defence industrial strategy, including those skills passports.
Thank you.
Councillor Robbins.
Thank you. I wanted to come back a little bit on the comments from Councillor Venkatash and Councillor Sumner, as well as talk a little bit about Matt and his team. So in terms of the potential employer talking about the challenges around skills, it is a clear issue that Swindon hasn't got a university. It's the biggest town in the country that doesn't have a university. And there is a challenge for some of those big organisations. We're a net importer of graduates into the town because of that, but we need to make sure that we have the facilities within the town to be able to train up people ourselves. And I think the bit that I'm really excited about with this whole investment strategy is how it ties in with the Heart of Swindon strategy, how it ties in with the skills strategy that are already there. And it really does start to talk about how we can bring forward all of these potential solutions to the problems together. So having universities coming into Knowledge Central as a part of the Heart of Swindon plan hopefully allows us to address some of those skills gaps that are forming in the town and making sure we can grow our own. One of the things I'm really excited about is the commitment from some of the companies like Techiver, who are coming into the town, one of the drone companies, to deliver as on part of the skills agenda. They're really keen to work with the college. They're really keen to build some apprenticeships in place. And I think we'll know that we've succeeded as a town when it's young people from Penhill or Walcott or Two Hill who are getting those jobs with Techiver, because there are proper pathways in town through the college, through university partners that we bring in, so that everyone in Swindon can take advantage of those jobs, rather than being what we are at the moment. It's great to bring in graduates who want to come and work at Zurich, at Nationwide, but it would be much better if we could grow more of those jobs ourselves and more people in Swindon could benefit from them. So I think that's a really important part of how these strategies work together. In terms of Councillor Venkatash's comments about how we build up the businesses that we've got here, I think the Swindon and Wiltshire hub is a key part of that at the moment, but we really need to get into that devolution space where we can get some of that investment. It also talks to the Heart of Swindon plan, where Knowledge Central is looking to deliver that startup space and accelerator space, working with organisations like UKRI, who have Innovate UK, who are funding businesses to grow and develop, and have got some really impressive plans to try and drive things forward. So it's about making sure all of our strategies work together and really amplify the thing they're doing. And then the final thing I wanted to say was, I think that Matt has sold his team short. I think it's absolutely stunning the amount of work that Matt and Andrew Wells, James Coulstock has done in this space, and now the team is growing, which I'm really pleased to see. But the idea that Honda have left Swindon, and we were really wondering what was going to happen with that site, what was going to happen with jobs, and they've been able over the course of a year to bring in 4 massive drone companies with more in the pipeline. I think I'm allowed to say that. I'm never quite sure what I'm allowed to say at these meetings, but it's really exciting, and it's an absolutely massive thing. So we knew what a big thing it was for Swindon when the railway works shut down, and how important it was that Honda came in and we were able to pivot from being a railway town to being an automobile town and becoming a car town with BMW and Honda. And the idea that we're now reinventing ourselves again at the moment, and that autonomous vehicles through drones and the work that some of those advanced manufacturing companies are going to be doing, alongside some of the work that UKRI are doing in terms of investment into the satellite applications catapult, the advanced manufacturing catapult, is all about how we can grow that sector together. And it's a brilliant story that Swindon has been able to reinvent itself again. It's something we should be incredibly proud of, and something we should really be shouting about, because this is massive. It was brilliant to have that article in the Telegraph a couple of weeks ago that really spoke to this, and hopefully we can get more of those really positive articles coming together. And if we can get this sort of work from an inward investment team in a year, now that that team's bigger, now that they've started to get that positivity about Swindon, it really feels like we're at the start of a really exciting period for the town. So we need to really build on this. The investment strategy, the investment prospectus that's come through, the new skills strategy, the Heart of Swindon strategy, all feed into this work, and it will go allow us to really kickstart and deliver more of this in the future.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Amin.
Thank you. I think what you've mentioned about the town centre, and you've had an event with the town centre businesses. I just wanted to ask you, what are the feedback from the town centre businesses? What do they feel there are barriers, and how do we actually overcome those barriers? I think we know what the barriers are, but how do we actually overcome them?
Yeah, no, the town centre businesses are really important. So we've been obviously engaging with them through our business improvement district shadow boards. A group of about 15 businesses in the town centre that would like to do a business improvement district, and moving towards a ballot. Have that in February next year. The types of things they've been saying to us across the last few months, we've done a feasibility study related to the business improvement district, and we've also been speaking to these workshops, and the Growth Hub have helped us with that. Our next item, so they're absolutely interested in safety and security, and how we address crime, not just through enforcement, but by enforcement, but also through activity in some of the places where that might be hotspots. So more events, more opportunities to activate spaces, so there's more going on. And that's absolutely something that a business improvement district and the additional money that brings could do. Improving the environment as well, and attracting more businesses, more independents, that kind of thing are all things that really matter as well. If you see what residents are saying on forums as well, that kind of thing, then I think they're clearly looking at the type of offer we have in the town centre as well. So we need to attract more businesses, or find ways of starting and incubating new businesses, which again means that we need to probably overcome some issues around cost and around incubation of businesses. Not that easy to do, but if we can try and find ways of starting new businesses that are in the town, it changes the offer, and that's going to be part of the solution. About widening the offer, as well as that, of course, if there are more people in the town centre, as we're hoping to do through the housing part of the Swindon vision. If there are more students in the town centre, if we get the higher education bit, it just changes the whole opportunity, because it's a different demographic there. So you need to bring all of those together. But what we hope is that businesses can get behind the business improvement districts when we get to the ballot, and that does allow us to put more funding directly into delivery over the next 5 years or so.
Councillor Marina.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just entirely coincidentally, I had 2 meetings today that just kind of give a couple of anecdotes of the kind of impact that we can have, not necessarily always through business development as such, right? So one is, I just come from a meeting at the National Trust, and we were looking at some numbers that have come out from the Heritage Action Zone work, and that's all down where the carriage works are and the railway village and all that. And we've been doing some analysis, and the numbers are that 1.6 million of initial investment, match funded by the council, but primarily from Historic England, leveraged 28 million pounds of additional investment into the heritage area. So, you don't have to start from the university, you don't have to start from the big things, you start small. And the other thing is I just heard I don't know if you guys saw, but there was some half-term events in the Brunel. So that was like a meanwhile space by the Swindon Culture Collective, which, you know, they've barely begun. They're just finding their feet. And they've already done this half-term, like science and art kind of events in the Brunel in a vacant unit. And they got the numbers back from the Brunel. Brunel told them that footfall in the Brunel overall was up almost 20% on the previous year. And that they've had really good feedback. And again, this is a comparatively small grant from the council that sort of leverages itself into bigger things, basically.
No more councillors? No.
I mean, I'll have a quick one. I think this has been, oh, sorry. I'll quick one. Thank you for presenting tonight. It's great to see the work in such a short, like, I think Councillor said that in such a short amount of time the team has been pulled together. One of the things that you touched on in the economic growth discussion tonight was around housing and employment site viability and some of the deliveries of the key sites. We know there's a bit of a shortage of employment land in Swindon, in some areas of the town.
Biggest employment site in Europe.
Biggest employment site, yes, but in some areas of Swindon there are shortages of employment land, and we're seeing increasing residential applications into these business parks and estates. Cambridge is a good example of that. At the moment, there's been conversions within that site, and we've seen 3 applications in the South Marsden Industrial Estate. One was refused, one was accepted, and one is currently going through the planning process. And that's taking away from those industrial employment sites. And so I wondered what conversations you were having with the planning policy team around the draft local plan, and what we could do to try and protect some of those sites and keep them from employing, especially when they're on those key sort of growth corridors like South Marsden, with the A420.
No, it's obviously there's been a trend over the last 10 years where committed development rights, probably more than 10 years now, isn't it? 15, where committed development rights mean that office space has gone to resi. Sometimes they're good conversions and it's office space that isn't needed. Other times you may have lost some office space you didn't want to because the developer made that choice. Feels like that market is maturing a bit more now, and quite often those spaces that go to resi are those that don't have a market for office. Some of that's happened in the town centre. Cambridge Park is another example, and you know there is potential there where more space can be lost because the planning rules haven't changed around this. When it comes to office space in particular, I think what Swindon needs in the town centre and some of the other spaces to ensure that we've got high quality office space. We're getting to a sort of, I guess, a new normal post-pandemic where is it 2.5 days a week people are working in the office, and the rest of the time they may work from home, and that means you need more collaborative spaces to work in. So I think there's an opportunity, and FI are doing this at the Bridge Square Tri-Centre, to look at those spaces differently and bring businesses in. That's what Zurich have done as well, of course, with their new building. So it's probably an opportunity to encourage more office investment because there's now more certainty over what's there. And we do need to keep engaging with the planning team on those opportunities to make sure we look at each one case by case and see what's best for that site. But clearly we don't want to be losing too much space. It's something to monitor on an ongoing basis.
Turn your mic off.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Mill.
First of all, thank you for your response. Full disclosure, I sent a Teams message just to get a bit of clarity around part of the report. Because I was a bit on the procurement aspect. There were some terms that were used which I didn't previously was aware of, so thanks for the clarity there. My question is around, are there any additional levers that the government can provide in terms of helping to accelerate growth? And if there are, what are we doing to utilise those levers?
A really good question. There are a few, I'm sure.
The big one is devolution. That's the massive one that the government are pushing at the moment. It's really clear from the spending review, and I think it will become even more apparent from the budget in a few weeks' time that all of the big investment is going into combined mayoral authorities, and that's why the councils in the Thames Valley are looking to try and push this through and go for that at the moment, because it's clear that that's where the investment is. If you look at Homes England and the money that they were putting into sites around the country, the vast majority of that is going into areas that have got combined mayoral authorities. We're seeing the same with skills investment, and it feels like that's the place we need to be if we want to get that sort of investment that's going to allow us to really drive forward from the government.
It does provide the opportunity to put investment funds together in a way that places like Manchester are along. So yeah, you all private investment, look at things like national wealth funds. Then it's a very good one.
Everyone's finished? Can I put come in last? I've got some final recommendations I would like to add. Thank you very much for an excellent report, Matt. This represents a step change in how Swindon articulates its economic ambition. And as I said, I've got a key recommendation for strengthening the emerging strategy. Number one is to define measurable outcomes early, like job creation target, % of local procurement increase, or carbon reduction metrics. Number two, to tighten links between regeneration and skills. Ensure Heart of Swindon development incorporates training and apprenticeship pipelines. 3, brand Swindon with confidence. Develop a clear Swindon narrative around innovation, affordability, and sustainability. 4, secure anchor buy-in from CWB. Ensure nationwide, Zurich, GWH, and Swindon Borough Council itself commit to tangible recruitment and employment reforms. And finally, integrate Armed Forces Covenant goals, because I'm the Armed Forces champion for the borough, so I'd like to see that in there. The defence growth deal could be aligned with MOD employer recognition scheme ambitions and strengthening Swindon's defence economic brand. So if you can take those recommendations, I'll be much appreciated.
Yeah, it will make sense. Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything? Finally, to the leader.
Can I just give you some good news on that community wealth building and procurement work? The council did a benchmarking exercise as part of the Build a Better Swindon mission to see how much of our procurement was going towards local companies. And I think it was at 40% benchmark. Currently, we've upped that over the last year to 48% against a target of 50%, which was quite a long-term target for the Build a Better Swindon mission. And we've now increased that target to 60% on the basis that we think that there's more that we can do in that area. But if that's an impact that we can have by supporting local businesses, just ourselves in a year, it feels like if we can really tap into that, those anchor tenants, the ones that you mentioned, I would add in a few more of those. You've got people like Great Western Railway that operate out here, a number of other organisations. If we can really harness the impact of all of their procurement chains as well, then I think we can really do something that does have a marked impact on the Swindon local economy.
Thank you very much. As I say, it's an excellent report and look forward to good news in the future.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Matt and the team, and thank you very much, Leader, for your time.
Can I make one intervention on the next item before I run away?
The next item, which one? The police?
The police one. So I've had an email this afternoon from Shabana Mahmood, who is the Home Secretary, and Steve Reed, who is the Secretary of State of MHDLG, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. And they have announced that the launch of the Winter of Action in town centres. So as well as writing to me, they've written to the Police and Crime Commissioner, I believe, today, to say that they are really keen that we work together with the police to do a Winter of Action in town centres which is all about how we keep our high streets, town centres and public spaces safe and welcome for all. And it looks like there might be a little bit of funding that comes with it as well. So I just wanted to give you that as a little bit of good news, hopefully, as we start this item before I run away.
Thank you very much, Leader. Can I ask the team, our policing team, to come to the table, please? Arlene, David, Mike and Jennifer. We really appreciate taking the time out to come and speak to us. Much appreciated. Who wants to go first? Chief Inspector?
It's myself, so I press my button. Hopefully you can hear me. Normally I don't need a microphone, so there we go. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chief Inspector Carly Nesbitt. I'm in charge of the Swindon neighbourhood teams and partnership working. And I'd like to start by thanking you all for inviting us here tonight. It really is appreciated and gives us the opportunity to outline to you some of our policing issues. And also I'm quite glad that the presentations were changed because some of what has just gone links very much into some of the issues that we've already highlighted. So quite exciting times in relation to that. So before I continue with the presentation, I will just introduce my colleagues. As you see, we've got a cohort here. But as I'm sure you appreciate that any policing work is not done in isolation. It's very much a partnership effort. And I have worked with several of you in the past. Not going to counsel really at all. We have invited some of our colleagues from Swindon Borough Council here, just so we can assure you of the partnership work that's going on in relation to the town centre of Broadgreen. So I will start from my right first of all. So good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Lybark, and I'm here representing the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner. And within that, I have a lead on community safety and youth.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Inspector David Tippett. My area is South South, which includes the town centre and Broadgreen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Knight. I'm the Street Community Safety Manager at Swindon Borough Council.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie Greenhoff and I work with Sam in the Community Safety Partnership, and one of my key areas is the Broadgreen area.
So thank you. And we have got behind us as well Helena, who
Yes.
I'm sure all of you are aware of, who is also.
You want to come down, Helen?
Put you on the spot, sorry.
Why not join the whole team?
I know. Good evening, everyone. So I'm Helen Robinson. I'm Director of Integrated Communities and Partnerships here at the Borough Council, and do lots of work with our police colleagues, and community safety sits within my remit.
Thank you.
So thank you. So that's half the presentation already gone, I think. So we will move on. Is it coming up on the screen for us?
We can do that. You just give a few seconds.
So we'll make a start anyway. Yes, we met with Councillor Ali and Councillor Sutton a couple of weeks ago, maybe. And we were asked to come along just to explain our policing response and the policing issues for Swindon Town Centre and also Broad Green, which, as you're aware, adjoins the town centre. So that is the basis of our presentation today, to take you through some of the issues that are faced, policing responses that are already in place, but also some recommendations from ourselves. We are all invested in Swindon. We work here, some of us live here. So Build a Better Swindon is something that is really exciting and inspiring for us as well, and something we want to achieve. So just that next slide that you have up there, just the hierarchical chart, just demonstrates to you our policing response resources in Swindon. So for those that aren't aware, we have 24/7 response officers who will work throughout the borough dealing with immediate, but we also have our dedicated neighbourhood policing teams. As David has said, he heads up the Central South one, and within that team we have a dedicated town centre sergeant, who is Sergeant Scott Young, and 6 police officers who are dedicated to the town centre. 6 is a positive number for us. When neighbourhoods first came back in 2019, we had 1 officer covering the town centre. So actually an increase up to 6 is something really positive. Broad Green, we have headed up by Sergeant Tristan Winter, and then we have 3 police officers and 2 police community support officers dedicated to that area as well. And the objective of the neighbourhood policing teams is to work in partnerships with our local communities and our partners with long-term problem solving, community engagement issues. So I'm sure you're all aware, going to the next slide, just the areas there that we have within Swindon. So I'm aware of what we may term as the town centre, and what you may term as the town centre may differ slightly in those boundaries. So within policing, we have what is known as beat areas. So the town centre is Delta Tango 18 for us, whilst Broad Green is Delta Tango 11. So I've just put the maps up there to give you some idea of where our boundaries are when we talk about the town centre, what that means to us. Some of you may include Old Town within that. For us, that's a different beat area with different sorts of policing issues and all the rest of it. And as you can see there, we just have the railway village adjoined to it, and also York Road as well, which is another one of our beat areas. So if you go on to the next slide, kind of dreading this one, bit of an elephant in the room, I think, but we wanted to be transparent with you. So as you can see from the town centre, particularly, crime has gone up. And whilst I put the year-on-year statistics there, so the September 2025 is compared to September 2024. July to September is again compared to the previous year, the same time period. And for the October to September, again, we're looking year on year, so that would be October 2023 to September 25. So having spoken to my business improvement colleagues, these stats are correct, unfortunately. Statistically, they wouldn't look at a month's statistics as giving a clear indication of a long and sustained issue. But as you can see, the town centre crime is up 16.5%, which does seem high. Crime generally throughout the country is rising in places, and you can see there in terms of volume for Swindon. And whilst I put Wiltshire, that means our force area rather than Wiltshire County Council, who of course are a different unitary authority that we cover. So crime throughout our force area is 6.5, but for the town centre it is 16.5. And I know some of you will be horrified by that. Our town centre is always the far busiest area that Wiltshire Police have. So consistently year on year it is busiest in terms of crimes and incidents. So the number of crimes for us, we would always expect to be higher. And I'd just like to link you a little bit into Matt's presentation, where he spoke about the bid, he spoke about the economy within the town, getting those businesses on board. And it's really encouraging to hear conversations about an identity for Swindon. So I've lived in the town for quite a few years now, and I'm sure for those of you that have, you'll remember when we had a thriving nighttime economy, the town had an identity. You go to the bottom of the town and it was really, really busy. And the town isn't like that now. There are empty premises, there's a state of disrepair. And so for us, that links into some of the issues why that will generate crime. You think of the broken windows policy, and we need our town centre to be loved. And David will speak later on just about some of the locations we have here that increases that vulnerability towards crime as well. So whilst that number is high, for me, it's really reassuring that I know that we have plans in place and we're working in our partners and we'll go through some of our tactical options, but also that there is that wider support from Swindon Borough Council in looking to see how we can rejuvenate the town centre and how we can make it a more desirable place and less likely to have that crime. So those are the statistics. You will see that Broad Green has gone down slightly in terms of volume, up in terms of arrest rate. That has been an area of focus for us under a project called Clear Hole Build, which I know some of you will be aware of, under the Build a Better Broad Green logo, which Debbie will also contribute to. So actually we would expect things like arrest rates to go up because it has been a focus, but we'll go.
Carly, sorry to butt in. For the viewers online and
Yes.
some of the councillors, can you explain what FACT stands for?
Sorry, we are very, very bad as police officers of using mnemonics and acronyms. So thank you very much. So that will be in terms of if somebody's charged, if somebody is given an out-of-court disposal, there is a positive outcome in relation to that crime. So again, if you look at our FAT rates, our further action taken for Broad Green and for the town centre, they're actually above Swindon and they're above the force area. So whilst we might have higher volumes of crime, that's being matched by actually that we are dealing with more incidents. And we are getting more positive results in relation to that. So,
Chief, I have one very quick question just on the data very quickly before we move on. So okay.
Yeah, is that okay, Carly?
Just to cover you around a couple of these. Oh, sorry. Sorry, it's going to be
Probably online.
I know it's because I sat around the table. Sorry. Just to make sure that we're understanding the data that's presented here. For example, the October 24, September 25. The difference between the crime arrest rate and the further action taken is 34% versus 24%. Does that mean that 1 in 3-ish that are arrested and then released with no further action?
So there will be a variety of reasons why people are arrested and then there is no further action. So sometimes there isn't the evidence and we need that. You will be aware in a court of law, it needs to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So the standard to arrest somebody is different than it would be to necessarily charge someone. It may be that the victim or the party at that rate also then declines to proceed further. And if we can't go for an evidence-based prosecution, then also we can't proceed with that there as well. But as I say, in terms of our crime arrest rate and also our outcome rate, we are doing really well for those two areas in terms of the rest of the force and also with other forces and throughout the country as well.
So that's really, I just wanted to just check that we were interpreting that right.
Carry on, Carly.
Okay, thank you. So next slide is just my header. So and then we just go on to some top crime types. So again, I wanted to be transparent with you all. So as you can see there, from October 24 to September 25, violence against the person was our highest crime type. I sometimes think people automatically jump to terror when they hear violence against a person, but that actually includes violence without injury. It can include stalking and harassment, other offences. So it's a whole variety of different things. But as you will see, also it includes a high number of theft offences. And having spoken to our people who do this information, they have said that that rise in crime is driven by those two offences in particular increasing over that year period. So in relation to retail crime, it's known nationally that this is now an issue. We know that the numbers are going up. We have recognised that here. It is part of our police and crime plan to specifically deal with retail crime. And as we'll talk about later, we have got things in place to address that within the borough. So it's those two crime types. So actually, if we can concentrate on those, put our plans in place, we should see a decrease within those two particular areas that are popping those numbers up at the moment. Next slide, please.
Can I just,
Yeah.
before you, on there, why have you put together arson and criminal damage?
That is how it is termed in our crime. So that
Arson is a higher, rate of criminal damage than just a criminal
that
damage.
is the crime reporting.
Okay,
So
all right, thank you.
and
Can I
then
just clarify something?
yes, sorry.
Thanks. It was just on the theft offences, and you just referred to retail crime. What's the sort of percentage in there of shoplifting versus people being robbed or their homes being broken into?
Yeah. So burglary and robbery are separate offences under crime reporting, so they wouldn't appear under those. So we would be looking at things like shoplifting, theft from person, theft of bicycle. Again, motor vehicle offences are a separate category, so they wouldn't come within that. I don't have the exact stats for you, but a large proportion of that would be retail crime. Yeah, and I think, we look at the social landscape at the moment, that there are tangible links as to why that might go up. I've just put a hotspot map there, so you can just see within the town centre where the particular issues are. As you can see, that is throughout. So yeah, we can just go on to the next slide. We've just done the next slide so you can see when we're looking at the number of offences, as I mentioned, the majority of violence against the person are those without injury. So I would not want the committee to think that because we have a high number of those type of offences, it means that there are stabbings, assaults and serious beatings. Unfortunately, we do have those, but our highest proportion of offences within that is violence without injury. I have just put domestic abuse down there as well, because again, it's perception as to is that crime out on the street, which of course leads to a greater fear of crime, a greater perception of crime, or is it inside? So you will see that it's also included later in the broad green slide. There is a lower proportion of domestic abuse offences within the town centre than in a residential area. But again, that isn't something that we wouldn't expect. Next slide. And then just your theft offences there, just a hotspot map, just for your awareness. So again, throughout all the different locations. So we've then got key locations. I'm just going to hand over to my colleague David just to go through some of those.
So we thought it's worth highlighting these areas. These aren't key locations in terms of demand. They really highlight some of the vulnerabilities around the town centre. As you see, they've got Booth House and Colby Court, and also Shepherd Street, which is housing for a lot of vulnerable people. On top of that, there's services within the town centre which draw in further vulnerable people, such as CGL, the Breakfast Club, Patient Services, the soup kitchen that's in Havelock Square. So that draws more vulnerable people into the town centre who can themselves be victims of crime. And with all of those residentials there too, well, we've already got those vulnerable people. So I think it's really worth highlighting. We've got that in the mix within the town centre. You go on to the next slide, please. And this is some of our tactical and operational responses to crime and social behaviour. So next week we've got the Safer Action Business Week. We run Operation Dasher every year throughout December, which is our operational response to retail crime in the town centre. But it's not just about that, it's about engagement and making sure that the space is safe for that uplift during the festive season. Operation Sceptre, which is our hub response to knife crime and highlighting knife crime. Operation Sacramento is something that was brought in, I think, a couple of years ago now, and that was around the rising youth gang violence and gang culture within the borough. And that's about targeting those hotspot areas and using things such as stop and search in order to combat that. Operation Stabilise is something we're in development at the moment, which will be very similar to Operation Dasher and around retail crime and our response to that generally rather than just in December. Our neighbourhood policing guarantee, which is about making sure we've got staff assigned to each area, that the public know who those staff are and that the public can contact us about the issues that are relevant to those individual areas. We use ASB legislation. And in the last year, we've introduced a criminal behaviour order panel. That's a multi-agency panel. This time last year, we had one criminal behaviour order in the borough. We're now up to 8. That's targeting those prolific offenders, and a lot of those around shoplifting, but also antisocial behaviour. So that's another tool that we can use. We use community engagement through pop-ups. That's across the borough, particularly in the town centre, and also using our mobile police station. Operation Diamond, that's our operation in response to the nighttime economy. And whilst the majority of that is up in Wood Street, there is still venues down the bottom end of town, so we have staff dedicated to that every weekend. And the asterisk ones, I think you were going to talk about. Is that right, Sam?
Sam was going to do the PSPO.
Yeah.
So yeah, just in terms of those that aren't aware about the PSPO, so that stands for Public Space Protection Order, which the council have as part of the legislation under the ASB Act has the responsibility to initiate those. But we work very closely with our policing colleagues around getting the substantiating the data and verifying that there was a need to have one, and obviously went through process earlier this year to go out to the public to vote on whether they support a PSPO. The one for the town centre is Town Centre in Broad Green, which, as I say, went live at the end of August, and the initial process in terms of the prohibitions that included were antisocial behaviour drinking in town centre, defecating and urinating in public place, town centre and Broad Green, also the use of e-bikes and e-scooters under a certain category, particularly in kind of pedestrian areas, and also the main ones that we have. In terms of the enforcement side of it, the borough has to can enforce it in terms of individuals that have that delegated power. So through PCC funding that we received, we have a small team of community safety wardens, which are overseen by my team, who are able to issue fixed penalty notices and have been able to do that. We didn't initially want to, obviously while the signage was up and obviously people getting used to those prohibitions, didn't issue any fixed penalty notices to start off with to allow that to bed in. However, can share in the last month or so, just those officers have issued around 25 fixed penalty notices. That's on top of for those that are before my time, but before the previous PSPO that was in place in the town centre. part of the issue with that was that for 7.5 years, no enforcement was taking place. And just briefly, in terms of PSPOs, there is further PSPO that's coming borough-wide, but that was just specific around there. I mentioned around the wardens, I don't think we necessarily need to, unless there's any questions on them particularly, but they come from the, through the, what was it?
Same as the hotspots.
Hotspots, ones, yeah.
So just our final operational and tactical responses there, you'll see highlighted with an asterisk. They're highlighted because they stem from the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner. So the next 3 slides I'll give over to Jen just to explain the OPCC.
So thank you very much. So yeah, just wanted to kind of bring into focus kind of the work that's kind of been developing, particularly around kind of business crime and how that's been kind of discussed here. So one of the areas that came out in the police crime plan was basically the commitment to support and enhance retail business crime reduction. And part of the work that's being done with that is the multi-agency work within this space. So it's very much about it's an intelligence gathering information sharing system that enables effective prevention of crime and disorder by basically partners getting together. So the reason we bring this up here is that we are currently launching in Salisbury on Monday, and there is a wider kind of perspective around this. And the reason I bring this here is that it's because we've worked with Salisbury Bid to enable that partnership to happen. And I just wanted to highlight, thanks to both Matt and David in the room, that we've been able to engage with the Shadow Bid Board here. And so we're very much kind of in a promising position of being able to kind of continue those relationships and to see how that partnership can develop based on the bid's kind of vision, really. So yeah, so that's where we are with that. And then the next slide. I think Councillor Robbins kind of alluded to the last point on that with what he said earlier. So under the Safer Streets mission at the moment, basically we've worked in partnership with our councils, local businesses, charities, community groups to build safer, stronger, more welcoming town centres across the county as part of our kind of initiatives over the last few years. But the main one this year has been the Safer Summer Streets initiative. So as we said, this is part of the government's kind of funding at the moment, which delivers in its ASB hotspots and supports the neighbourhood policing guarantee. So what we were able to do with this is target key locations. So efforts focus particularly in an area of areas of Swindon, and I will bring those kind of into the next slide. And basically just saying that this was backed with £1 million of Home Office funding. It enhanced the police patrols, etc. And then the work through the local joint action group via the Community Safety Partnership, which brings all the partners together, was able to identify the kind of the following activities that supported that work. So this was taxi marshals, night angels, the wardens that Sam spoke of, Project Vigilant around sexual violence, and also Change Where We Live to deploy detached support workers. So as we move forward, as was highlighted, we're now moving to support the Winter of Action work, and that is again that multi-agency partnership approach, ensuring we deliver on that.
Are there any questions before we move on?
Yeah, just one.
Am I allowed to ask that? Sorry, Chair.
Yes, just one. Why don't you turn your sort of, so your mic off so we can ask. Councillor Amin first, then Councillor Lavender.
Thank you. In terms of the community, obviously I understand the town centre is different because you've got all sorts of people coming to the town. But in areas like Road Green, Yorkwood area, Kingston, I just want to know the crime. Are they happening within the neighbourhood? The criminal act, is it happening in the neighbourhood as well? So what I'm trying to say, whatever incident is taking place, is that perpetrator from that particular community? Because if that is the case, then there may be a fear of public perception, particularly going outside, because they know there is a perpetrator living in this particular area.
So just want to know, is it happening within the ward?
So. Yeah.
On the next slide, we've just got some of the challenges and we've got the diverse community there. So if we look at the town centre, as we've already alluded to and as you highlighted, there are different demographics within the town centre. We've got some transient, we've got some residential, we've got some business. That in itself presents challenges. So in the town centre, we're more likely to have people coming in because that is the nature of the town centre. Broad Green are the further slide, so of course it's in very close proximity to the town centre. And as I stated earlier, we have had Broad Green as an area of focus in order to strengthen community ties, but also do Opt South Bridge there. So with any community, some of it is within the community, but I think what we need to remember about Swindon as well is that if you want to go into the town centre, you can walk through Broad Green. So it's all very close to each other. So again, it's going to be like there any area, some will be from residents, some won't be from residents. So, but I don't have that statistical breakdown for you.
Okay. The reason I say that, I know you've been particularly working on Broad Green for quite a significant amount of time. I just want to know whether things have improved as a result of your work in Broad Green. I mean, if that has improved, by how much? Because it's a perpetrator that from within the community. I do see your, fat rate which is quite high as well. I mean, just want to know, I mean, if that's the case, what sort of improvements have we actually made within those areas?
Yeah, so there is a separate slide deck on Broad Green. Is that the area that you're particular? Yeah. So is it okay if we just go through that through the Broad Green element, and I'll cover that within the slides there, if that's okay, Chair?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bowden?
No, I answered my own question.
You've answered your.
I reread it.
Okay, so good. Thank you very much. Okay, Michael, carry on.
Thank you. So we look at the challenges. We've already spoken about the removal of bid, which you're all aware of, and the impact that that's had on our ability to deal with not just retail crime, but also antisocial behaviour within the town centre. It's pedestrianised, so again, bikes, etc. Us trying to get round. The diverse community we've mentioned, there are different demographics. Reputation, I'd also say, I alluded to this earlier. What is our town centre at the moment? I don't know if we know what it is. It hasn't got an identity. It's not a nighttime economy. It's not boutique cafes or a university town or anything. So I think reputationally, for us from a policing perspective, having a positive identity would then have a positive effect in terms of that crime rate as well.
Cheers.
Councillor Bantiger?
Thank you.
It's relevant to this, yeah?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. It's nicely presented, and thanks for safeguarding all of us. As the diverse community is one of the challenges you raised, I mean, in recent months, there is a hate crime which is taking place across the country. And Swindon is a multicultural and diversified town. What are all the measures in place to handle this hate crime and ensure like every community is treated equally?
So you're right, we are seeing issues in other parts of the country around hate crime, and you'll be aware that there was a protest recently in the town centre as well. So we have worked hard as your neighbourhood teams to link in with our diverse and varied communities. We have contacts within the major diverse faiths within Swindon, and when there is any incident either in Swindon or nationally, we will link into them for community feedback and that monitoring of the community tensions as well. And we maintain that relationship. We also have a community leaders forum which we invite those community leaders to as well, so we can maintain those good relationships. In relation to hate crime, we get updates from those in terms of our figures and where they've happened. Those go out to the neighbourhood teams, and they are asked to follow up just to make sure that we have such things as hate crime advisors in place, and we also have adequate safeguarding around that as well. So our neighbourhood teams, we do community impact assessments when there is heightened tension, so we can monitor that and engage with relevant parties. And I know some of you as local councillors, when we have had incidents before, you've had emails from me notifying you of that and asking for feedback on any tensions that you're aware of. So it is something that we are akin to. We also monitor what happens nationally and internationally as well, because you're aware a few years ago what happened in America translated over here with a number of protests. So neighbourhood teams are working hard, and we are very lucky in Swindon to have good links in with our mosques, our temples, our churches, etc.
Thank you, Carly. Councillor Sumner.
Yeah, just a quick one on the town centre, following on from the conversation that we had with Councillor Ali meeting, and that was in the town centre. We spent an awful lot of money building a new bus interchange, which took away a subway, which made employees of the town centre employer feel unsafe, and now we've got those same employees feeling unsafe at the Wellbridge car park. Obviously, they lease car parking spaces from the Borough Council there, and obviously you said that's a cluster, that area. It seems to attract negative activity, and also we spoke about there was a proposal that was floated about having sports activities on a floor within that car park, and that would probably not be helpful to that type of behaviour. Do you want to sort of say more about that?
There is always the danger of displacement, isn't there? And as you'll see in the following slide, within the recommendations, we have also said about linking in with other partners such as public health, who I see as vital partners within this, because we do have vulnerable people who are in need of support and other services. I think having a public health voice as part of what is going on and any work you do in the town centre, it is vital. Personally, and from a policing point of view, I would not be supportive of the multi-use thing on top of the car park. I would foresee that as giving us some issues around antisocial behaviour in a location that would have additional vulnerabilities and risk attached to it. But I am all for using space differently, and also, as we put in the recommendations, what do the community want? And that's something that we're trying to do with Broad Green as well, and linking in with our partners from the CSP. We've done a number of community engagement events in the Broad Green area. We've done ones in the town before. I sometimes think, and we're guilty of it as police officers, we have an idea, we think it would be great, and the community go, well, that's not for us. So, there might be some very good ideas there. But again, as we found working through Broad Green, sometimes their aspirations are beyond what is possible. But yeah, it is issues, and you focus on one area, it moves somewhere else, but then we tackle that area.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
So just going, funding and partnership working, we're lucky that we've got good partnership links, but I am aware that our partners, as we do, have issues with finance at the moment in terms of, financially where all the organisations are and cuts that are being made, and funding. If anyone has a pot of money anywhere that they would like to give to any initiatives, they would be gratefully received. But I'm sure you appreciate that funding is always an issue when it comes to any initiatives. Jen was very pleased when Councillor Robbins did mention there might be funding attached to the Winter of Action, which would be positive. Just moving on, our recommendations. Progressed with the bid, or the Business Crime Reduction Partnership, which we're doing a design out crime survey. We would recommend that as the police that you employ one of those in the town centre to see where we could design out crime. Undertake a community survey, both public and the businesses, and very much engage with young people. What makes them feel safe? What do they need? We have a lot of young people in here, and we are privileged as police officers to do a few intervention and diversionary projects with our young people. And it's very easy for us to forget what it's like to be young and perceptions of crime around Swindon for there. And really positive when we were talking in the earlier presentation about opportunities and apprenticeships. I heard you saying, Councillor Ali.
Yes.
I had that conversation with Jen earlier about using the growth of Swindon as opportunities for those young people. So we were both really glad to hear you mention that. So let's engage with our young people. Let's give them an opportunity. We've got talent in Swindon. A lot of it is untapped. And we just need to find that potential and to make them realise that there is something other than the path that they are on. I've already mentioned about public health and other partners, but also co-location, which is something that we are looking at the moment between ourselves and the Community Safety Partnership to enhance our working. So that is the town centre. I'm sorry, I've probably gone wildly over time. We do have Broad Green. Would you like me to go through Broad Green as well, or?
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's part of our town.
So I do apologise to everyone. I will try and go through it. So again, we've just got the crime types there. Again, violence against the person and theft offences are our two highest ones. That isn't anything that we would not expect to see in terms of our crime types and just the hotspot areas around there. All I will say is it just needs to be cognizant because we've done so much activity there. Of course, when you do activity, that increases results. So that will in itself generate hotspot areas that we might not be aware of if we hadn't done the activity, if that makes sense. Just violence against the person there. So you can see violence without injury is at 73 and violence with injury is just behind at 60. But if you look percentage wise, domestic abuse is higher as part of those violence against the person. But again, this is a largely residential area. So unfortunately, we would expect the domestic abuse percentages to be higher than we would in an area like the town centre. Theft offences, just dotted around, but are tactical and operational responses. So many of these you will see are similar to our tactical responses for the town centre, but we will, the one that is primarily different there is Op Southbridge, which is a clear hold build. That was an initiative that the government required all police forces to implement. And we selected the Broad Green area in recognition that it is an area that, in terms of engagement, that we possibly haven't done as much engagement in the past that we could have. And actually, it was such a vibrant community. It was a really good opportunity to support that, build better links, and do some work with that community as well as tackling the crime issues there. So it started with a community survey, which we did in conjunction with our community safety partners. And as you can see there, from 165 responses, sorry, next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide, next slide. That one. The community came back that drug dealing, use and associated antisocial behaviour in the alleyways in particular was their primary concern. Parking and vehicle-related antisocial behaviour and fly tipping. And how safe do you feel out of 10? 6.49 was the average rating. I think what community surveys really demonstrate to us as well is what police perceive to be an issue isn't necessarily what matters to the community, which is why it's really important that we do those surveys. So since we have started that, next slide, sorry, we have done a number of pieces of activity, working again with the Community Safety Partnership, and you can see some of them there. Debbie has organised a community fete, she's done a teddy bears picnic, we've done joint operations, our own surgeries, etc. And that is all with an aim of building the community up. So the objective of the Clear Hole build is that you clear the area of crime, you hold it, and then you work with the community and your partners to build that community up so it can then almost be self-sufficient and stop that crime from coming back in. So some positive results there, and you can just see some of the results that we have had in relation to that. So a lot of patrol hours, some significant seizures, and arrests and out-of-court disposals. So Councillor, in response to your earlier question about is it all local to Broad Green or not? So 118 arrests is not all Broad Green residents. So that are people that have unfortunately come into the area and decided that is suitable for them to commit crime. So that is what we have there in relation to those. So just going on to the next slide. So our design and out crime officer has done some recommendations in relation to improvements that could be done in the Broad Green area. So that is understanding the population, alley gating, quick removal of rubbish, quick removal of graffiti. Again, this links into the broken windows policy as well, lighting, renovating the billboards, days of action, which we've done, assistance with rear boundaries, licence and officer engagement, neighbourhood watch in the area as well, joint police patrols and full street and alleyway and TV coverage. I'm just going to hand over to Debbie because she's been doing some work as the tactical lead for the council in relation to that and give some updates on some of those elements.
So what we've been doing on the tactical side is working with groups around the community to be able to find out what people actually want. My next session is going to be at the end of November, where we're having a Saturday where we want to work to be able to see how we can. We know we want to improve the area, but we want the area to look attractive so that it draws people in, because at the moment, anything that's written about Broad Green area, it's the people outside of the Broad Green area that slate it. And, those of us who live in the Broad Green area, and I do, know that it is a nice area. There's a good community. What we want to do is to bring the communities together to be able to be successful in moving forward and giving the community the confidence to be able to call and make the complaint about the fly tippers, about the drug users who are in the alleyways, the sex workers, all those things that people ignore, but they are a site, and it's a negative site for the area, and it also makes people outside the area slate the area. So if we can get the community to be able to build that confidence, be able to say, well, I'm not happy with that, I'm going to phone up and complain about it. And then as a result, we then turn around and go and clear that up. That's the challenge at the moment, is getting the fly tipping cleared, getting the graffiti cleared. But we're working together as a partnership to be able to get that done. But for me, it's moving forward, getting the community working together, and then make the area look better, so it's better for everybody else to see.
So if we, just go on to the last slide. It is the last one, you'll be glad to know. Overall key dependencies, just our partnership working, and actually we work very well with our community safety partnership, but I include you as the councillors within that partnership working as well. You know your communities. You know the movers and shakers, but you know what's going on. So we really do need your assistance in moving forward. Co-location I've mentioned, and Helena and myself are in discussions regarding use of that to build better, closer working relationships. Funding, I don't think I need to say any more on funding. It is what it is. The support to Clear Whole Build, again, there are so many diverse communities within Broad Green, and I'm sure you appreciate there are lots of different languages. So that's a challenge for us to make sure that we can reach all those people that need to be heard. Crime prevention participation, and then just that community engagement and consultation. Again, I say we've done a lot there with mobile pop-ups, etc. But we're committed to doing further, and that also extends into the town centre as well. So that you'll be glad to know is that I apologise. I know I went well over, but thank you for your time.
No problem. Councillor Mills has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Almost sounds trivial compared to some of the more sort of weightier topics that we've had, but I was interested in the survey, 165 responses. What was the format of the survey? So was it electronic? Was it?
So we did it on a Microsoft Forms because then it's easier to collate the results, but we went and knocked on people's doors as well as doing pop-ups. Because we appreciate that if you just stand on the street, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be approached. We also, was it August last year before? March, we did a big event at Broad Green Community Centre. I don't know if any of you came to it, but there were survey questions there about how safe do you feel, what would you like to see in your community, etc. So everybody coming there also had the opportunity to not only engage with different agencies, but also give their views on how to make a better Broad Green. So yeah, we go for the direct approach.
It might be worth utilising the reach that the councils have, especially through social media, to be able to support that effort in terms of, especially if it's a MS form link that you could put in. I'm sure that might be helpful. Do you have questions for me?
You carry on.
I was interested on the quick removal of fly tipping and removing graffiti, etc. How easy is it for residents to be able to report these things?
It should be straightforward. It is to contact the council. It is a JADU form that we fill in. Whenever I do pop-ups and whenever I'm out, I always take a QR code, because one thing that we can't provide as the council is a QR code for that. So I created my own. So every time I go out somewhere and I'm doing work in the community, I have the QR code and say, just go onto there and then you can fill in the form. When we're doing litter picks, I go around taking photos of all the fly tipping that is out there, and I report it as well. I know it's not quick turnaround, and I've made complaints about fly tipping that I've seen online when I've done the litter picks, and that pile has grown and grown and grown. And I know there are lots of issues around fly tipping, why it can't be removed for whatever reason, but we need to start targeting it, and we need to encourage people to make that call and say, I've got rubbish left out in the alleyway, it's not on my land, because as soon as it's on someone's land, the council is not allowed to take it away. Parish council are doing a lot of work now. They are going around and they are clearing up as much as possible, because they've struggled to be able to get SBC to come and do it. Sorry, no, fine.
I was just going to add, in terms of our kind of operations part of the Borough Council, we do fortunately have some new resource. I don't think it's in place right now, but certainly the wheels are in motion to ensure that we've got a great resource to be able to do that work much quicker. But there's quite a lot of complexity around being able to enforce and all of that sort of stuff. So it remains a bit of a wicked issue, but certainly we're aware of it, and we are looking to ensure that we can.
Helena, can I just, sorry, Councillor Mel. Can I just add to that? So are we going to have a separate number for that? So it's easily, rather than going through the main number and like click 1, click 2, and it just goes on. So is there going to be some number which is speedily people can contact and it's dealt with speedily?
It's a very good question, and I don't know the answer. I haven't heard of a particular hotline number. I think generally it is through the Jardou system, which we know comes with potential kind of barriers in itself. I can certainly take that out, Councillor Ali, and see what we're looking to do from that perspective.
Sorry, carry on, Councillor.
Third question, and I probably should have raised it a little bit earlier. As a former retail manager myself, and although again, I'm pleased to see with some of the preventative measures that are in place, there is still this perception that shoplifting isn't taken as seriously as retailers would like. And I think historically there's been an issue around the value of the goods. Has that changed at all? And has the approach therefore adapted to that? Thank you.
The value of theft doesn't make any difference if it's reported as theft. It gets investigated the same. And certainly my team, we view shoplifting as a serious offence. We know the impact that it has on shop workers. I've spoken to shop workers myself who are in fear of going to work, so we're very cognizant of that. And we know that there is a victim at the end of it. So yeah, we're driving the improvement around how we service that crime type.
Anyone else?
One quick one.
Councillor Sonder?
I promise. There's a chunky paragraph in the middle of the recommendations which talks about the billboards on the junction of County Road and Manchester Road. And at the end of it, it says SBC not willing to liaise with owners. Anybody from SBC step up for that?
We've done it. Yeah. Come on, David, come and give us the good news. We've taken an action, have we?
Yeah, we've met the owner what the version is, and I saw the options what I.
Well, they could be making money out of it if they sorted it out properly.
That's good news, been in touch, thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Right, I just would like to say a very grateful and thank you for attending. I know how busy you guys are. But things like this, a lot of things, listen, I'm the chair of the police and crime panel. I get the statistics and all that, but what's happening on the ground is nice to know what's happening on the ground. People just in isolation think, oh, every time something happens, you say to them, have you called the police? Oh, waste of time. They don't do nothing. But I think we need to really get this, the perception put away and say what's happening in reality, what you're doing in the communities and town centres and everything else, and the good work. And I think that's where it's lacking, the communications and where all the communication is going. And I think these kind of, coming here to tell us, I can take it back to my residents, but we need to take it all over the town and get that confidence and trust back from people and say, listen, we are doing everything. Come on, let's engage with us and tell us where we're failing and where we can improve.
You're right. I won't go with the details. There's an ongoing battle around our social media. We are very good at just getting on with it and probably just not saying this is what we do, and you do need to know, because that in itself leads to feelings of safety, confidence in the police, and we know that not everyone trusts the police, and there is a reticence to report sometimes. And yes, we might see an increase in crime numbers, but that can sometimes be a positive because it means people are more likely to report. And sexual offences being an ideal indicator of that. So, we will definitely work on that, and we'll take that, and we'll come up with a plan.
Yeah, as always, when people complain about things that are happening and you say, have you reported it? No. But how are they going to put the resources? Unless you know about it, you can't take resources from one place to put in somewhere else. And I think those kind of confidence and trust people need to have. And although I know what you guys are doing, but 99% of the population don't have any understanding. They just think you guys are doing nothing, just in your cars, just going around town and whatever.
So just on that, I'm aware we have a member of the press behind us. So I would like to invite, if you would like to work with us to do a positive news story on the work, we would gladly take up with that with our partners and the OPCC. And Swindon's got so much positivity going on with the businesses. Let's do the climb and make it, a positive thing. So if you're willing,
Absolutely.
to do that.
Yes.
So yeah.
I forgot about Teals here. He's hiding well, isn't he? Right, Councillor Vinter Cash.
Thanks, Chair. I just echo what Chair said about the work what you are doing, but there's always a perception where we won't get a good reaction from the police force, and time to time we hear they won't attend, they won't come. So to make it more proactive, I mean, I do follow your social media page and always there will be content. But if you can come out with a monthly graph or something like this many cases, certainly this is what happened, this is what the result. Maybe I used to, maybe before COVID or during COVID, there was 2 police officers from North Swindon. They always used to put some reels and show that this is what we are doing, this is how we are connecting the community. And more connect. See, now we are in the digital world. I mean, we need to show. Of course, you all working extraordinary jobs you are doing too, and making the communities safer. So just see if you can able to connect the communities and accommodate the digital things and reach the people in a better way.
Yeah, most definitely. We'll take the feedback to our corporate communications department.
So it's lovely to kind of hear your feedback there on one of the areas that we have been looking at with kind of our corporate comms teams and both across the Office of Police and Crime Commissioner and with our partners. It is very much kind of how to engage. And for example, we recently spoke with a group of young people and who were very clear that yes, we needed to change our engagement style. They certainly don't hold back when talking to you. And it was actually, for us, it was a real opportunity just to kind of take that step back, listen, and actually see with the use of technology, actually, how we can kind of change our engagement plans with that, so that those conversations are continuing internally.
My final summary is like perception and reality. People need to get their facts correct. And, Wiltshire and Swindon are not perfect. We're not free, crime free. There is, small bit, but people forget Swindon and Wiltshire is one of the safest counties in England and Wales. So let's be proud of that and not, just because we have, one knife crime, one is too many, but overall, 99.99%, we are one of the safest town and county in the country. So thank you very much for all your hard work, what you do, and we might see you again in 6 months.
Oh, we look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
If it's okay with you, Chair, we will take our leave.
Yes, yeah, and I apologise for putting you second, but
it worked out quite well anyway.
Yeah, all right.
So.
Thank you very much for your time. David, you want to move in? Marina, please, as they're going out. So. Thank you. Thank you very much for waiting patiently.
I wasn't waiting patient.
I wasn't talking to you, Mary, I was talking
Waiting.
to officers. Right. So who wants to start on agenda 7, a review of open spaces?
I shall, thank you, Chair. So this report is an overview of our green spaces. I think that it's clear, and we all know, that Swindon punches well above its weight when it comes to our parks and our green spaces and our landscapes. We hear that from residents all the time, but we also see that in things like the Secretary of State for Environment choosing Swindon, choosing Lydia Park to announce a £1 billion investment in national forests. So that was yesterday, and Swindon was the home of that, which I think sends a message. We also have amazing partnerships with our parishes that do really great work on our green spaces and our parks, and organizations like the Wiltshire Wildlife Trust who manage the community forest and do lots of work with us on other things. That said, there's always more to do, and also there's work to be done to make sure that we manage and develop what we have in a way that it's preserved for the future, and that we think creatively how we leverage funding from different places and how we leverage work on different things into our parks to use it to support work around public health, well-being, heritage, climate mitigation. Just one example, heritage, environment, and climate mitigation is the canal down at Witchellstone, right? Like that's all in kind of like a lot of bang for your buck. So we need to be thinking a lot in those ways. And the report essentially overviews all of that. It's a kind of, this is what we got, but also a framework for managing, identifying, managing, developing our parks and the new country park strategy that we're working on. Did you also have any opinion?
Did you want to add anything? David, I don't know this officer, what's her name?
Toby.
Toby. Welcome, Toby.
No, just that this piece of work is primarily a evidence-based document for the local plan, so it's a requirement of the MPPF that we audit our provision and the quality of those spaces.
All right, councillors, any questions? Everybody's read thoroughly?
Yeah.
Of course, so no questions at all. Councillor Mills.
It's a bit of a theme here. I was just interested in 3.11 in terms of the resident survey. Can you just give me a bit more information around survey, how it was sent out, etc., etc.? Thank you.
And so the resident survey went out on a platform we have called Engagement HQ. That was done by ourselves, and that was just to gauge really how residents use our open spaces, how they feel about them. What are the main uses of open space, basically, and then a big bit on whether they believe that there's enough variety, barriers to using open spaces, so we're gauging kind of their thoughts on lighting, social behaviour, things like that. So it was and so this survey will then feed into the final report, which the consultants will ultimately provide us with.
And just to add, Jason, in terms of how we pushed that out, so we did a bunch actually. We did masters of social media on it. So we had social media posts announcing that there will be a survey and consultation. Then there was one per park, right, for the face-to-face consultation, and with a link to the specific survey. And then we repeated all of that. So we iterated it, which is how come we got, how many were you telling me? Like over 1,000 responses. Okay. We got a really, really good response, and that was through sheer tenacity and just me just shouting constantly.
Councillor Somner.
Yeah, just a quick question. In terms of obviously this feeds into the local plan and the news to villages, which I'm obviously familiar with. You know, when we left the administration of the council, we've got 6,500 homes consented. So the mistakes that were made were ours in terms of what I'm going to ask you, which is I've got Redlands Grove residents living there who've been there 2.5 years now. Had an email from the MD of Bellway's office earlier. I had a meeting with them a couple of months ago, and they won't be seeing a play park for at least another 18 months, which is disappointing. And it's one of those things, if you're building a community and that community still doesn't have a school either, the kids have got literally nowhere to play. So in any green infrastructure strategy, play park strategy, it should be front loaded that early on in the development, those that aren't yet consented, the developers are strongly encouraged through policy within our local plan as part of this to deliver that early. Because it's important to people and it sets a tone of a place where people meet, where kids play safely.
Not only do I completely agree with you, and I have given that feedback and we have discussed this, but I would also add that when we leave the placemaking elements to last, right, they become an afterthought, right? So the developer, Frankham play area is on my radar at the moment because it's just the shambles. And what happened is that the developer just plugged something that's completely not fit for purpose. This is like over a decade ago, and hightailed it. I've got it, and then they're gone, and you can't. You have to like go through a course to go catch them. So if we prioritize all of those things going early, then they're still around to be pressured further down the line.
Yeah, and the only other thing I would say is about multifunctional spaces. So again, the example would be North Swindon. I mean, obviously, some of it's sort of 20, 25 years old now, but you drive around places like Scenic Drive, they've got a play area, which is probably got in considerable expense when it was done, and a couple of posts, but with no crossbar, that presumably was meant to be for kids wanting to play football. There's another large play space up there closer towards Tadpole Garden Village that I've seen kids out there with a couple of satchels on the ground because there isn't anywhere up there to play football, whereas in Wanborough, you've got the lower rec, it's got 2 football pitches, there's a big one and a little one, free access to all. We've got football nets up at Church Meadow in Upper Wanborough. So during the summer, you're going to go and play football, you're not lost.
Do you know there was a Play Parks conference yesterday? Yeah, it was in Pine Trees. I think it was the first ever Play Parks conference that we organized. It was done it wasn't the planning department, it was through the public health team. And it had all the parishes there. And it also had like police and so, like a good 360, and there were presentations about gender mainstreaming and about accessibility, for children and people with special access needs and all kinds of things. It was really, so that was like the first of its kind, but hopefully it's the direction that things are going. And there was I had a go at South Swindon Parish Council. I said, you have more football pitches than teenagers. Because we have so many football pitches. And then you told me that like in places like Apple and Swindon. So yeah, absolutely, all of that kind of stuff needs more of a strategic oversight as opposed to like a development by development kind of approach.
Yes, Councillor Highland.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually have a quick question on 3.28 around the country park strategy that's currently being prepared. Is there a sort of time frame for application, draft applications? Could you have a little bit more information on?
It's really quick. Remind me what the timeline is. Yeah.
So we've just completed the first phase, which is the resident engagement. So that was survey that Colin mentioned, and with staged events. We've also done we're interviewing all the key stakeholders and partners in the country parks. Then the next stage is drafting the strategy. Ultimately, we intend to take strategy to cabinet in February for adoption.
Really fast, but yeah, so government standards.
So just on that then, around, particularly Stanton. I know it's just outside my ward, but I get a lot of emails from residents about it. There are so many concerns around safety there with the car park, whether or not it's being locked up at night, potential incursions by various groups. I get a lot of questions around things like water pollution and things in the lake. I know the parks team that do the operational side of running it are fantastic, and they are very, very quick to hop on a lot of the queries. But just in terms of a wider, longer term strategy, I'm conscious that there's two different teams, one doing this and one doing the operational side, and linking in with some of that. There's a couple of points, and I'm happy to follow up afterwards with some of the particularly key cases that keep coming up time and time again from those residents, if that's helpful. I'm not sure that will necessarily form part of the strategy, but I think so.
But no, but it's consultation input, right?
Yes, yeah.
We can take it as a consultation.
It may have already gone in by those residents, so they're very keen on things like Stanton, but if it hasn't, I'm more than happy to follow up and just make sure that it's passed to everyone. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Milton.
Okay.
Rude.
No, for a second. I'm glad to see that the recognition of the importance of both the parish council and community groups in our strategy. I was particularly interested to see how specifically we can support community groups.
I think that is going to be an output of the strategy. So anything I say now, I'm freelancing. Like I'm not the expert on that, but I'll give you a few examples, right? So just things that have come across my desk. So one was Seven Fields, right? So Seven Fields is not a country park; it's a nature reserve, which is a different designation. It has different needs. It's managed differently, and it has a community group that helps manage it. And there's super dedicated people who really love that space. And they were really struggling with their hay cut this year, right? So quicker communications with them, clearer, better procurement are, to be honest, in this specific one case, right? But also clear communication, more regular engagement with the community group, stuff like that. That would have helped them. It wouldn't have made them so frustrated that they felt like they had to haul a cabinet member into a community group meeting in order to yell at her. You know what I mean? Not that they yelled at me; they were very nice about it. But do you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't have gotten that bad that they felt they needed to escalate to that degree. Another one is the famous highway sign outside the Richard Jefferies Museum, which is so enormous it hides the very small Richard Jefferies Museum, which is probably why you look at me like that because you've never seen it. Right. So again, that it took like a really long time and loads of people have been engaged and it took a really, really long time. And it's just like, did it need to get that bad or did we need to sit down with Richard Jefferies Museum ages ago and talk about this? So finally I managed to get a meeting of the museum and myself and Chris Watts and all the other people. But that is a lot. That is a heavy lift. Like a more regular engagement, I think, rather than a kind of escalation model that they get something hurts, like something is painful and then they kind of chase us. I think that would be my recommendation.
Anyone else? I'm going to go last. Looks like I'll have to go last. Now, as this Swindon's latest review of open spaces does represents largely a positive picture of Swindon's green infrastructure. It confirms that Swindon benefits from a strong and diverse network of open spaces, which makes a major contribution to our residents' health, well-being and quality of life. The Council's ongoing commitment to protect, enhance quality of life, the Council's ongoing and expand these spaces is clear, particularly through the forthcoming open space audit and assessment and country park strategy. However, the review also acknowledges some challenges. Access to green space remains uneven, with under-provision in central and eastern parts of Swindon. Residents have also expressed a desire for more recreational facilities such as skate parks, tennis courts, and safe walking areas. While the planning system contributes to fund most new and improved spaces, this reliance on developer contribution raises questions about long-term financial stability and sustainability and consistency in standards across different parishes.
I think that is super fair comment. In the case of, so, you know, like in the report, it gives all the different types of open space, like within X yards or whatever kilometers from your home. So I think we're doing really, really well on the, like the highest level, the things that are within whatever 10 mile or 2 miles of wherever of your home. Actually, that, if you even look at a spread of where the parks are, we're not doing badly on that at all. How accessible they are, like how much you can cycle to them from everywhere in Swindon. Cycle walk, right?
Yeah.
That's probably something to look at. But the big green spaces, the parks, they're actually fairly, you know, evenly spread. But it's not everywhere that communities have access to green space immediately outside their doorstep. And that is also the bit that is most developer reliant, right? Because those play parks, those little village greens are built by developers. So I think that definitely is something for us to think about as part of the local plan. It essentially relates directly to what Councillor was saying.
Yeah, as I said, it's central and eastern bit because I live in North now, West Swindon. We've got, you know, wonderful parks. You know, you can walk, jog, cycle, whatever. It connects everywhere. You can get to town. But eastern side and central is big.
So
it's a miss.
In the central, there's work that's being done on spring gardens to kind of make it more. It's just stuck there, like nobody knows it's there. It's actually a really big green space right in the town center, but it's not like work has started ages ago on like how do we develop it, but also how do we make it like more
connectivity.
Yeah, kind of connectivity to other parts of the town center. But also, I would say in the heart of Swindon vision. There is, is it 2 new parks for the town centre? At least 2 new parks for the town centre. So, and I've also been working with officers as part of the Trees for Climate thing that also like sits in my portfolio. And there is a provision for urban planting, right? Because the ward is the least green in Swindon. Like there's the fewest street trees in Essex than anywhere else. So this has been like a really life challenge for me, and residents are really like raising it a lot. But the problem is that it's also got narrow streets, utilities that are really close to the surface, and narrow pavements, so that you plant big trees, they start, you know, digging up all those little 2 up 2 downs from the late Edwardian age. So I'm super aware of what you're saying, and it's super challenging in pockets, but we are already working on doing whatever is possible, and as we redevelop the town centre, we will be doing more.
Listen, I'm very proud of Swindon's, you know, green, and we have got one of the best, I think. I've seen other towns, one of the best in the country. So, you know, on our doorsteps, within a few minutes, you can view country parks, you can view play parks, whatever. So it's where it's uneven, that's where we need to join in and have the connectivity. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, you can leave if nobody else wants to ask you any questions, because your report was so thorough and fantastic as always. Yeah.
This, oh my God, they're like hen's teeth. There's a closely guarded supply that PG is guarding the access.
You don't want to stay for the rest of it, Alan?
It's just going through the work programme, isn't it, Councillor?
Yes.
Difficult to get a compelling.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you.
Okay, the work programme for 25-26. Before we get into the work programme, there's a note from Katie Flint, the head of policy, performance and insight, has suggested the inclusion of the following item on the work programme. A 6-monthly update to build a better mission delivery.
For all the policy groups.
No. Yeah.
So it's going to be mission on just the build a better Swindon. So this is something that the Swindon Borough has been included into the work program there, and it's going to be included into the build green as well. So it's going to be an update on how the mission is going, dashboards, and I'm sure he knows more than that. So the suggestion is for the first update to be at the next meeting in February, and then to follow up in 6 months with an additional update.
Yeah, so each policy committee has its own mission board. Yeah, I missed the last one. Next one is January, with what's her name? Can't remember. I've forgotten, so I can't remember that person. So are we all happy to have that?
On February meeting?
Yeah, and then every 6 months.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's noted. The other one is the following item on the work programme on we've got the 12th, the corporate overviews and scrutiny. Oh, sorry, what am I looking? The cycling, sorry, the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan. The committee agreed to remove this item to avoid duplication with build a greener Swindon.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We discussed it similar, not that long ago, didn't we? Might have been last year. Might have been last year. It's less than one, doesn't it? We've done it in March, yeah, March last year.
Do any councils have any other items for forward programme?
Chair, can I just ask the question?
Yes.
Just checking whether the heritage strategy is still on there for February?
Yes, it should be. Yes.
We started working on it, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
On
It
the
is.
6th of February.
Chair, there's two potential items on page 82.
Mm-hmm.
The local plan and the Oasis refurb. If we're taking one of the March ones off, do we want to consider adding one of those?
In the March one, we're taking the local cycling.
Yeah.
Which one did you want to add?
I'm not saying I have a preference, I'm saying, do we want to add one of those to replace it?
Well,
The local plan might not be a bad one, given that the Reg 19 will be starting in next summer.
Do you mean in terms of just feedback?
Yeah, consultation, feedback from the consultation,
Yeah,
insights and direction, yeah.
we might be able to get feedback.
At the February meeting?
Yeah.
But no,
You
I'm not-
reckon February? Oh, yeah,
March.
because, yeah, we've just got the heritage. Can we ask?
I can check whether that's possible, if you like.
Yeah?
Yeah, see whether
Okay.
that's-
The only suggestion I would have on that is that March, elections in May, planning can be quite controversial.
Yeah. Okay, we'll be having before PERDA kicks in, so.
Yeah.
So our last meeting is just before PERDA kicks in. So we should be all right.
Best ask.
I assume the Oasis refurb, well, there's probably not much point including it because nothing will have changed by next March. So
We don't know.
Hello?
unless you're going to pull a new residential scheme out of your back pocket, put it through something. Yeah.
Do you think we can put it in the March one, Matt?
Let me check. I'll report back. But there is work ongoing on both of those things. Obviously, the consultations closed on the local plan, and I know there are conversations happening in certain categories. So I'll take some advice and come back to you, councillor.
Yeah, so February, if we can see if we can get section 18 updates, the feedback. Yeah, thank you very much. Anything else?
No.
No. Okay. Status of request for actions or information.
That's the one.
Yeah. No response. We have no response. Okay.
Can you push for a response on the next meeting?
So what are they coming back with? What is the issue?
It's from the bus companies that we had in June.
Yeah.
So I haven't received any response. I'm chasing and chasing, I haven't received any response.
Okay. Is there anybody else who can step in? I don't know.
We have the director.
Yeah.
So it's a bit difficult, but I'll try.
You've got the contact details.
Yes.
So go direct to them.
We need to go with the Hale. Sure.
Who? In our offices.
Nigel Hale.
Yeah.
Thanks for Nigel there.
Nigel's very good.
Nigel Hale.
So we haven't had any response, so could you get some response, please? Before the next meeting. Thank you very much. Anything else? No. And the public, where's the public members? And everybody who's watching online, thank you for watching us. Yes, so